round 8 of Grand Prix Copenhagen. Hello and welcome to this round 8 of Grand Prix Copenhagen, and we have two players desperate to get the last win that they need to make it into day 2. Loic Le Briand, he is on Steel Leaf Stompy, and his opponent, freshly minted platinum player Andrea Mengucci, desperately looking to get his first ever Grand Prix top 8. He's already won the World Magic Cup, he's got Pro Tour top 8s, but somehow or other he's not been able to get a Grand Prix top 8 thus far. On red-black chain whirler, he's got the necessary tools to do well in this format. It's just a matter of finding that 6th win from somewhere. Scrappy Scrounger, the early plays from him, up against a Heart of Kieran on the other side of things from this Steel Leaf Stompy list, which is predominantly green. But thus far, the lands that he's got working for him mean that we are likely to see some sort of a black splash in there.
Definitely. The black splash is used for Scrappy Scroungers as additional ways to keep your power level high on the battlefield, so it's easier to cast Heart of Kieran with having more resilient creatures. We have already an interesting situation here. Is he gonna... Okay, so he's gonna crew the Heart of Kieran. He definitely had an option not crewing here and casting Ronas, and that leaves an interesting situation where Andrea can only have a Braid to use his untapped mana if he doesn't crew the Heart. So I kind of would have liked Loic to not crew the Heart of Kieran there and force Andrea to not being able to use his mana for a turn, as Heart of Kieran is not, as long as it's not a creature clear, you can't disintegrate it, and Ronas is of course indestructible.
So the follow-up play here for Andrea Mengucci, having got that unlicensed disintegration, is Khan, Sign of Urza, and reveals both Chandra and Pia off the top of his deck there. So Loic Le Briand is time to choose. Is it going to be Chandra or Chandra's mum that goes straight into Andrea Mengucci's hand here? He's already in good shape, the Italian player here. Loic already at 14 thanks to the damage from one Scrap Heap Scrounger attack and that unlicensed disintegration. That now drops to 11 as Scrap Heap Scrounger gets stuck in. And Ronas the Indomitable right now looking entirely domitable, unable to attack or block without any creatures to worship her.
Yeah, definitely. I think Loic has a Steel Leaf Champion to kind of crew the Rona, so to say, make it able to attack. And I kind of like Loic giving Mengucci a Chandra here, because he doesn't have a ton of ways to actually protect his Planeswalkers, even though they're in multiples, except them having a high loyalty count. And I think Loic has a Sky Sovereign in his hand, which means it's going to be easier for him to finish off these Planeswalkers as they continuously are coming down. Although if Andrea would have gotten a PL Nalar, there would be a completely different story where it would have been much easier for him to protect something like a Karn.
So Steel Leaf Champion comes down. That means that Ronas the Indomitable can attacks Karn down to just a single point of loyalty. We'll see how long Karn is for this world in subsequent turns soon enough. Mengucci's life total itself as yet untouched. 11 points left to deal to Loic Le Briand for Mengucci to pick up this game 1. And a lot of options available to Mengucci here. He's got his 5th land available, and with Chandra, he has the potential to play Chandra into another spell as well if he so chooses.
Yeah, I think Andrea has a Glorybringer in hand, if I'm not mistaken, so drawing this untapped land could seem to be crucial if he wants to go for the... Alright, seems like he's not going to go for it. He could have gone for Glorybringer exerting on Steel Leaf Champion, and it's a quite powerful turn here, but it seems like he's not going to elect to do that.
This attack screams Goblin Chainwhirler to me. We'll find out whether or not there was one lurking in Mengucci's hand.
Or he's trying to double spell and playing around something like a Blossoming Defense. That could also be the case. Yeah, it seems... Okay, interesting. So this way, since he has a Magma Spray in hand, he can play around Blossoming Defense to be able to deal with the Steel Leaf Champion for sure. And in that regard, he tries to play around that using as many resources as can. I don't think this play is worth it. I mean, this makes Steel Leaf Champion be out of the picture for sure. But I mean, if Leon has another 5 power creature or something else powerful to cast, this doesn't really matter, I think. It's just we spent too many resources and tempo to deal with that. I mean, Scrappy Scrounger was already a big deal on the battlefield, given that Loic has to deal with Planeswalkers and being an 11. And if the Chandra or Glorybringer just works, that's just incredible for Mengucci, and he probably wins the game off it. So I would probably have tried to go for the high value play there, but.
So Sky Sovereign has come down and initially killed off Khan. The Sky Sovereign very, very good against Planeswalkers. And in the meantime, Chandra getting her work done as best she can while she can, revealing a Scrap Heap Scrounger on the top of Mengucci's deck. And now he's got to decide if he wants to cast that Scrounger or make the most of the damage it represents. He does go for casting it, which, given the amount of lands he has, makes total sense.
So Mengucci has Magma Spray in the main deck. We have also seen 2 Cinder Barons in his deck. And this leads me to believe that Andrea has taken a much more mid-range approach with the red-black deck, wanting to play more black cards and being a little bit less aggressive. If I'm guessing, I would just assume that Andrea Mengucci is not running a high number of cards like Hazard or Bowman Courier in his deck list. He's taking a more reactive approach with more powerful cards in the vehicles and a higher curve with Glorybringer, etc.
And how do we feel about that based on what you would expect the metagame to be going into this event?
Yeah, I think Magma Spray is very powerful in the red-black mirror because it kind of gives you an easier way of breaking Surf, especially in game 1. Although this does give you a lot worse matchup against blue-white control or other control decks overall. So this is definitely a trade-off, and I think I would prefer to stay proactive and try to still beat control decks, because we have seen a quite high number of control decks, and I think you can assume there's going to be a lot more control in the Grand Prix following from the Pro Tour, where control decks have a better idea of what they have to fight against, like exactly what kind of list people are going to be playing. So, which makes Magma Spray a little bit more of a poor choice, but could be interesting. So.
Well, Scrap Heap Scrounger has come down and done what Scrap Heap Scrounger does, which is to jump in a vehicle and make sure that it can fly in whichever direction you so choose. And Loic Le Brion now has a nice set of attacks, gets to shoot down Chandra, and then this is a lot of damage coming through. Even though Lothal is currently 11 to 20, it's not going to take too terribly much for that to change up. Yeah, the
Sky Sovereign is just so powerful in this matchup where there's tons of removals, but also 4 mana powerful planeswalkers. It's kind of like in the Mard vehicles times, where Sky Sovereign not only is a bigger than hard Quran, but it can also effectively deal with planeswalkers and the small creatures that tries to crew the vehicles on the other side. Also, Thrashing Brontodon being perfect here. Not only does it block the Scrapping Scrounger on the ground, but it can blow out that hard Kiran if Andrea elects to crew it. So Brion not really under any kind of pressure here.
We mentioned even right at the top of the day that this green deck, it can produce a bunch of threats that are very difficult to one-for-one trade with for certainly the mono red lists, and even for the red black lists. There's a lot of pressure on those unlicensed disintegrations once every creature is difficult to deal with a single card.
Yeah, you're definitely right here, and yeah, cards like Sky Sovereign and Ronas, those are just houses in this matchup, and we'll see how much Andrea elects to continuously respect this Blossoming Defense. And I think Loic Le Brion only has a Haship Oasis, which is going to be good in this game, don't get me wrong, but I think Andrea just can't play around it anymore. And he might be just down too much tempo from playing around it previously in this game.
All right, so Glorybringer is going to exert targeting that Thrashing Bronzeton, so if there is a Blossoming Defense, obviously very, very good here. Doesn't look like that's the case, though, based on...
So I think Andrea's plan here is to exert on the Thrashing Brontodon, which is probably going to remove the Hardikiran response. Then it's going to Magma Spray the Scrounger and hope there's no way to crew the Sky Sovereign. And except for Ronas, meaning that either Ronas or Sky Sovereign is the only creatures that I can attack, meaning it will not be lethal. But if Loic Le Brion indeed does have a Haship Oasis in hand, that's 9 points of damage with crewing the Sky Sovereign and attacking in there here. So we'll see if exactly that happens. Here's the Magma Spray. And another Cinder Barons. Is that a third? No, okay, that's the second one he got from Karn. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so big draw step here for Le Brion. Looks like he does have the Haship Oasis, so I think that it's all going to work out quite nicely here.
I guess you can just pump twice too, that works.
Yeah, no need to even give away the additional card. And Le Brion picking up the first game win against Andrea Mengucci, and these guys will be shuffling up, going to their sideboards, trying to figure out if there's anything that they want to adjust soon enough. Both of them mainstays of the Grand Prix circuit that, if anything, Loic has a better set of records than Mengucci. Mengucci, a surprising gap in his resume. No Grand Prix top 8s thus far.
Yeah,
took a photo of himself in Copenhagen prior to this weekend. Hopefully getting the blessing of the Little Mermaid from in town, and we'll find out whether or not that blessing has turned into a curse at some point. But let's have a look at the standings, just get a feel for who's at the top of the table, and we're definitely going to be seeing tomorrow. There's some big names there: Martin Müller, Lucas Plahon, Javier Dominguez. Which other names do we have?
Love Rask, also PDQ and GP Grand Prix ringer from Stockholm.
Pedro Cavallo. We've seen a number of these players in our feature match area already. A good mix of decks in terms of what some of these players are playing, and we'll get a sense of what the metagame looks like post Pro Tour, probably sort of mid-afternoon tomorrow, really. And if we look at our next slide, these are the people who are more sort of, all right, we've made it to day 2, but how happy we are overnight is really going to come down to this round. So your Martin Dangs of this world, Alexa Telerov, Toral Severin, Jasper Grimmer, even David Carr from England here. 6 wins is fine, of course. You're in day 2.
Yep.
If you can turn it into 7, though, that's when things get kind of interesting about that top 8 berth.
Yeah, it's quite the difference, that's for sure. You can see Thomas Hendricks there, top of the last Pro Tour.
Mark Tobias with
clinging
his
on.
paradoxical outcome. There's still a chance, guys.
So he continued winning after we saw him lose here in the feature match. Good for him.
And let's see how far down our 18-pointers go here. So we're only going for the top 60 for now, but I'd be stunned if it was that cleaner and neater a cut. These guys are still figuring out their sideboarding. We will stay with them here. Each of these decks are relatively well-known quantity in abstract, but there are so many cards available to, especially this red-black list, that fully predicting exactly what they're going to be on can be a little bit fiddly. I mean, you already highlighted the fact that Magma Spray was being in Andrea Mengucci's main deck is a little bit different, not something we necessarily see from every list.
Also the Cinder Barons, additional tap lands. It's a pretty big giveaway towards what kind of game plans he's trying to do here. And I think Andrea's is gonna be even more defensive in this matchup post board. We're gonna see even more removals and trying to rely on Chandra and his Glory Bringers here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing that the green deck doesn't necessarily have loads of is ways of meaningfully interacting with flyers. If you end up with the draw of Rekindling Phoenix and Glorybringer, you can both apply quite a lot of pressure, but also you get either removal in Glorybringer or a creature that is in itself very difficult to remove in that Rekindling Phoenix.
Most definitely, yeah. And while I like the blue splash a little bit better than the black splash coming from the Steel Leaf Stomp list, the black splash can give you access to Our Glory, which is a pretty nice way to deal with, say, a Hazard or say a Rekindling Phoenix, as we were talking about. As it's only one black, which means it's clearly a lot easier to cast.
Yeah, much, much more splashable than Vraska's Contempt, even though Vraska's Contempt, in a large proportion of scenarios, is the better card.
True. But we even saw Thomas Hendricks netting a Hazard off of his opponent's hand in the top 8 of the Pro Tour.
Literally living the dream. Firstly, you're in a Pro Tour top 8. Secondly, you're getting to use every single line of text there. And big removal spell when it works, even when it only exiles a creature in play, still pretty decent.
The only time I've actually seen it taken on another card is in Limited. which is absurd.
It is absurd. But, I mean, absurd things happen all the time in Limited, and that's part of the reason that we love it. So, I mean, we had a Pro Tour draft with 4 Planeswalkers opened at one table.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
If you didn't happen to see that, the man Andrea Mengucci, who's in our feature match area right now, we featured his draft, and it was a pretty spicy one. I won't give away too much, but he was relatively happy with his deck after that one.
Yeah, just finding a Karn Interfere is just a dream, right, of the Pro Tour. Alright, let's see what we have here. I think I saw 3-4 lands.
Quite a lot of land here for Andrea Mengucci, but if he has determined that the important thing is having the high impact cards, that's not necessarily the end of the world.
He does have the best card in his deck, though.
Which one's that then?
Dragon Skull Summit.
Yeah, I guess that is the most straightforwardly reliable of all of the red-black guns.
It lets the deck not getting punished for playing such a greedy mana base alongside Goblin Chain Whirler and all these black cards. But Mengucci continues to drawing lands here. And Ronas is really scary, I think, in this matchup, because it's so hard to deal with, and it goes over all the threats also, and giving things trample, meaning Rekindling Phoenix is less powerful, etc., etc.
So Rekindling Phoenix, at least for now, the only creature that can attack, but we'll see how long that lasts. Look, the Prix here. We can see that he's got a fair amount of land in his hand as well. We've come across a strange sort of a game here, Yoel, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to be too much of a worry, because there's Steel Leaf Champion. There's even a Greenbelt Rampager. It's just gaining an energy this turn, but soon enough the Elephant will come marching in.
No real point of attacking here, since Rekindling Phoenix will just be brought back by the Elementus Egg here, and this is fantastic for Andrea to see that Elephant as well, because this means there's not going to be any kind of blossoming defense going on, meaning Glorybringer will get a Steel Leaf Champion, and this is where Glorybringer really shines.
I mean, we talked about it while they were sideboarding, that one of the ways that Mengucci could potentially eke out this game 2 is by playing some powerful flyers. He's done exactly that in game 2, and Greenbelt Rampager gets pumped up. That means that Ronas can attack. We've got a good old-fashioned race on our hands here.
Oop. And I think this is all over Red Rovers, a famous man once said. These Glorybringers are just wreaking havoc on the on. Even if it finds an answer for them, they've already dealt with a powerful card on the board and dealt 4 damage. It's just too powerful here.
3 lethal threats on the battlefield. Any one of them was enough to end the game. And Loc Le Prion, after all that time shuffling and sideboarding, has to go back to the sideboard once again, as we're going to see a game 3 here.
Yep, and this is where Leo LeBron really hoping to get these land wealth draws. Trying to overwhelm Mengucci before he can deal with them with something like Goblin Chain Whirler. When you're able to play a Steel Leaf Champion on turn 2 against this deck, unless they have cut ribbons, it's just so hard to deal with. Even if you can back him up with removal later on in the game, say on turn 3 or turn 4. That's the way you kind of win the matchup from LeBron's side, if you don't have something like Sky Sovereign or something powerful such as that.
Now, I want to ask you a question, Yoel, and it does relate to this interaction between Landmore Elves and Goblin Chain Whirler.
Yep.
On the face of things, Goblin Chain Whirler is kind of a really horrible card to have to play against if you are this green deck, because you do want to be playing Landmore Elves. When they're good, they're so good that you don't want to not have them.
On the play, it's just enabled way too many nut draws.
Is it kind of just the price of entry that you have to, rest assured that occasionally everything's just going to go wrong, the wheels are going to come off, and your opponent's going to kill your Landmore Elves without them doing too much?
It's an awkward position, because Red-Black is clearly the most played deck in the format, and Chain Whirler is really good against Landmore Elves. But against every other deck, Landmore Elves is so good that I don't think you can cut it from the deck, even in this format. And then again, it's still good against a red-black deck when you're on the play. So it just warrants for how good Landmore Elves is in this deck. It's kind of like night and day. I wouldn't say it's useless without it, but it gets so much better on the play that it's definitely still worth it to keep it in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, even in Limited, I've had games where I've cast turn 2 Steel Leaf Champion. And
must be nice.
That deck was super nice. It had
I believe.
Double Landmore Elves, double Steel Leaf Champion. I was very regularly getting a 5-4 in turn 2. And it turns out a 5-4 in turn 2, if you think it's good and constructed, it's even better in Limited.
True story. Yeah, so that's what Leon is gonna hope for sure. It's kind of a weird place also because Leon has better early game in the sense that he can punish Mingucci by having an unstoppable curve. But then Andrea kind of takes over the mid game with Disintegrations, Glorybringers, and Chandras. But then Leon Brown can go even on top of that with his Sky Sovereigns, and I believe he also has access to Raska, which is a natural answer to something like a Glorybringer, for example. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Also, if Andrea can find a 1-2 punch of Soulscar, Mage Post, Goblin Chain Whirler, Seal Leaf Stompilis doesn't run a ton of interaction, especially early in the game until turn, say, 4. That could be totally wreak havoc on the opposing board.
All right, so turn 1 is just a Greenbelt Rampager very, very briefly making it onto the battlefield, and it would not surprise me at all if we saw it coming down. There it is on turn 2. So kind of a weird echo cost almost being paid for the 3-4 there.
So here we see the cut, and cut is fantastic in this matchup, but it is overwhelmed by the amount of targets that are good for Andrea Mingucci. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, Steel Leaf Champion, even better target than the Greenbelt Rampager. No 4-point damage spell to deal with that one just yet. Just a Heart of Kieran coming along here.
Ooh, I think we have another Steel Leaf Champion, and this is where Leo Brown really wants to be. He just keeps casting these Steel Leaf Champions. What Andrea Mingucci is really hoping for here is some kind of 4-power creature that can block it, such a Rekindling Phoenix or say a Chandra. They can blow up one of these creatures. They can also crew the heart to block the second one. And we'll see what Andrea he does have the Phoenix, so that's a good answer.
I mean, he was going to have something here because he's facing down 10 points of attackers here.
So Leon Brown does not have an answer to the Phoenix, but it does have a Death Core Scavenger, which is kind of fantastic here. If he goes for a double attack, I would assume Andrea Mingucci will block one of them and put his Rekindling Phoenix in the graveyard, and post-combat, Leon Brown will remove that creature with the Steel Leaf Champion. Or, sorry, with the Death Core Scavenger.
All right, so this set of attacks,
while it does involve a trade happening between Steel Leaf Champion and
the Phoenix, there's the Death Gorge Scavenger to exile it. That means that this elemental egg, not quite as exciting as it might otherwise be.
All right, so the pressure is on Mingucci here for sure. Sure, you get to keep the egg, but...
It can't even block the champion.
Yep. It can jump maybe a Death Core Scavenger for a turn, but that's about it. Mingucci really needs to come back, and we can also see the deficit of having something like a Heart of Kiran in your deck on the draw, because if you have to play removals instead of playing things that can crew the heart, it's just a big issue, because then you kind of time watch yourself by not being able to use it. But here Andrea can actually double spell, which is pretty big. So now he can both crew and deal with that Scavenger.
So 8 points of life remaining between Andrea Mingucci making day 2 or not. He's got to somehow keep his life total going while dealing 22 points of damage on the other side of things. No small ask.
No small ask, although Lily Brown does not run a ton of direct damage to the face, so if he can get back on controlling the board, Andrea can definitely deal us 22 damage pretty quickly, but that is a big ask already. So this kind of forces a shump block on the Steel Leaf Champion, unless Andrea elects to take the... no, this is... yeah, the Steel Leaf Champion is lethal, so he has to shump with the heart. And we'll see if he elects to sacrifice the egg for the camera. He does not. So I kind of like using the Hatchet Oasis here.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that is... I mean, that's what it's there for. It's not about pushing through early damage. It's about forcing through that late damage that can otherwise be a little bit harder to pin down any other way.
I think Lloyd Brown drew a Blossoming Fence, which is going to be enormous here. If Andrea Mingucci goes for Seiya or Hour of Glory to deal with the Steel Leaf Champion, it's going to be severely punished, because he's already so far behind, and trading 4 mana for 1 mana at this stage of the game can be detrimental. We'll see what he does here. And also, he kind of has to play it now, because if he plays in Loyal LeBron's turn, I mean, of course, the creature gets +2/+2, and he can't really block the champion. So, a lot of pressure on Mengucci here. And if Loyal LeBron has anything else except for the Blossoming Defense that we know he has in his hand, yeah, that would be awful for Andrea, and the game would be over very quickly here.
Mengucci trying to shake off the curse of the Grand Prix. There's Hour of Glory.
And this is going to be a Blossoming Defense. This is huge. Clearly Scrounger can't block, so that will attack. And the egg can't block the champion, so we'll have to jump block the Kendra. We'll see. Oh, that's just lands, so we don't have lethal yet. But this turn, alongside with the Green Pelt Ramager, there is going to be 3 lethal attackers on Leo LeBron's side of the battlefield, so I think that's going to spell doom for Andrea's chances to day 2 here.
There's the handshake. It's Loic Le Briand that picks up the win here. Big win for him, making day 2 once more. Andrea Mengucci, well, he's going to be enjoying the sunshine here in Copenhagen. So that the end of that match does not mean to say that we were not going to have a little bit more magic for you. Of course, as those players were playing, we have got other matches going on in our feature match area. We'll bring you a little bit more magic after these messages.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Copenhagen. I'm Tim Willoughby. This is Joel Larsen, and we are very, very close to the end of our day here. We've already had our live match from the final round of the day, but you know what? We know that you want a little bit more magic. We're going to bring you just one more match here from our feature match area from round 8. This is Andrés Strasky against Bernardo Santos. It's mono-red aggro versus red-black chain whirler. So we're going to have a quick game here, but only one of these players is going to get to be playing tomorrow, assuming they can pick up a win here. I guess technically speaking, it could be a draw and neither of them get to play in day 2.
True.
That strikes me as highly unlikely given the pace that this one's going to go at.
Yeah, especially the players are playing pretty fast.
Bomat Courier into Karizev. I like where this is going for Andrés Strasky. Bernardo Santos, though, has the opportunity to win a bit of his money back here. He's on the draw, so he's naturally going to be on the back foot a little bit anyway, but
yeah,
a Goblin Chain Whirler here would do a lot to stabilize the board for Bernardo here.
it would definitely do that, Tim. And however, does he not have Goblin Chain Whirler here? Andrés Strasky is heavily ahead, even though if Bernardo is able to deal with his cards, I would say in a braid before attacking, because Andrés Strasky's mana is all on tap, while Bernardo's, nope. You can see a Canyon Slough there in the hand, alongside an Ether Hub, and it's just going to be way more difficult for him to keep up, especially on the draw, without that Goblin Chain Whirler.
Yeah, I guess that's the trade-off, right? You either go mono-red, your mountains, they're always coming into play untapped, they're always doing what they need to. You get to have these super fast starts consistently. If you're playing red-black, every now and again the wheels kind of come off.
I think Andre actually forgot the trigger on Bowman Courier, and that's pretty big given that he has tons of interaction in his hand, meaning he can empty his hand and then sack that Bowman Courier at the end of all of that. But we'll see if it comes back to haunt him or if his cards are going to be enough to finish off Bernardo here.
Potentially a little bit of fatigue at the end of the day here. It's been a long day in Copenhagen.
True.
Players playing in pretty hot conditions. Cuts there dealing with Karizev, and the follow-up is Bomat Courier, who's going to be attacking in here for Bernardo Santos.
I'm kind of interested in why Bernardo is attacking here, actually. I probably would have left my Bowman Courier back, at least forces Strasky to put a removal towards it, because it actually can block that Bowman Courier. And given that Strasky actually didn't cast a Chain Whirler of his own on turn 3, it doesn't make any sense for him to have it in his hand post that if it doesn't draw it this turn.
So Earthshaker Kendra coming alongside Bomat Courier attacks this turn. Immediately an extra card going under that Bomat Courier for Strasky. Gets to hold up a couple of mana here, so if he has the likes of a shock or similar, he can fire that one off as needed. As things stand, though, he passes things back to Santos, who at 11 life to 19 needs to start piecing a few things together here.
Yeah, I actually believe Bernardo can double spell here. He can play Pianalar as well as the shock that he drew this turn, which is very important here to be able to try to climb for a comeback.
I mean, I guess that the Pianalar, it represents 2 blockers for everything that Strasky has going on, and that's a nice little package for 3 mana here.
And we can really see the impact of Goblin Chain Whirler here, because I mean, look at this board. There's so many creatures that are so good in this game, but if there's a Goblin Chain Whirler on the other side, this is just not the case anymore.
Shock at the end of turn to deal with Pianalar herself.
Is that on Hazard draw? Alright. And the wheels are turning. Now Hazard's on the battlefield. Now we have the minigame of Hazard versus being able to raise Hazard. Given that Bernardo doesn't have a Soulscar Mage, there's just no way for him to deal with this creature. He can maybe repeatedly block it with, say, a Rekindling Phoenix, but that's just a losing tactic at the end of all this. And yep,
Bomat Courier happy to trade up, getting 4 cards rather than the 1 that was remaining in Strasky's hand. Yes, that might mean that Hazaret attacking next turn is a little bit fiddly. Like, in principle, it could. There are combinations of cards that could be difficult.
So if he Strasky plays a land next turn, he can actually activate the Hazard ability twice, and then he goes down to 2 cards. So yeah, he needs to basically double spell and activate it. So it's gonna be hard. You're right.
Rekindling Phoenix coming down. I mean, we say it's going to be difficult. This is not a deck with a notoriously high curve. I think that there's a mountain that's going to get played here by Andre, and then it's just a matter of which of the multitude of spells he wants to cast to empty his hand. Even if all of those cards essentially did nothing, he would still be in a position where just emptying his hand was worth something.
Interestingly enough, Strasky drew a Karsev, which kind of bailed him out of being able to attack with Hazret, but given the Banana has a Rokilin Phoenix in hand, or in play, it doesn't really matter that he attacks with it or not, because it's just gonna return that Phoenix. Given that Strasky is tapped out, there's no reason not to block it. So he stays back, but Banana sees that the writing's on the wall when Hazret gets to activate 3 times, and then the game's just over.
So game 2, Strasky looking to have a pretty similar game to game 1, and he'll be very happy. Looking down the barrel at a Scrap Heap Scrounger on turn 2 from Bernardo Santos, but Santos here without any source of black mana just yet, which may be a slight concern to him. Meanwhile, Strasky, all mountains all day, that's all you need. Looking on as Pinalar comes down on the other side of things.
Interesting choice here for Bernardo Santos. Before he drew the card this turn, he had both Goblin Chainwhirler and Pinalar in his hand. And usually you cast the Goblin Chainwhirler, because if it's Strasky has Goblin Chainwhirler here, you lose the top there without Strasky losing a card over it, and that's not great. But Bernardo drew a Soulscar Mage, meaning that if he just holds the Chainwhirler for 1 turn, he can put counters on everything on Strasky's side. However, it does seem like the Black Splash is coming to bite him here, because I can see a Canyon Slough and a Swamp, meaning he can't cast both this turn, and will maybe have to wait an entire turn before he can do it.
Consistency could be king in this pseudo mirror. Strasky, he's got the early life total advantage. That Goblin Chainwhirler, 3/3 first strike, a very relevant sized body, meaning that that Scrap Heap Scrounger doesn't fancy attacking, it can't really block. It's left in almost purgatory, I suppose. Canyon Slough getting cycled, and finally a Swamp for Bernardo Santos, who plays a Soulscar Mage and passes things away.
Yeah, so Bernardo realized that he will probably have to play one of this card regardless this turn, meaning that he might as well cycle the Canyon Slough to not having to not wait to cast both on the same turn, and cast the Soulscar Mage this turn instead. We'll see if Strasky has an answer to this key piece of interaction. Alright, seems like he's just gonna go on the offensive here. It's a pretty powerful turn, because Bernardo's blockers are just so poor at this point.
Well, I mean, right now his blockers are a Soulscar Mage.
Yep.
Just a 1/2.
Yes, the 1/2.
Even Ragavan can get in a fight with a 1/2.
Yeah, and Strasky is coming in for so much. If Bernardo just had his 4th red source, which it's asking for a lot, because I mean 4 sources in a 2-color deck is just hard on turn 4. It's just as easy as it gets, and that's the reason why I said that Dragon's Skull Summit is the best card in the deck. That's just the way it is. And
it was not just another glib line for the folks at home.
And we can see that punish Bernardo pretty hardly here, because if he would have been able to put minus counters on both the Karsev and the Goblin Chainwhirler, all of a sudden Strasky doesn't really have any good attacks next turn.
Alright, so Santos here carefully weighing up his options. Scrap Heap Scrounger, I sometimes feel like the fact that it's got the line of can't block just helps people make the right play with it more often, which is to say, well, it's definitely not blocking, so I might as well get stuck in with it.
Yep.
And Goblin Chainwhirler coming down, teaming up with that Soulscar Mage to put -1/-1 counters on the entirety of Strasky's team. They look far less exciting now with those little purple dice on.
Yeah, so here we have the interaction that lets Bernardo possibly come back into the game, but it might be 1 turn too slow. It really depends on whether Strasky has a good way of following up, and I think I see a Mountain and a Glorybringer, and if that's not a way to follow up, I don't know what is. Tim?
Absolutely. Glorybringer, for the entire time that it's been in Standard, has been an absolute powerhouse. In some cases in these mono-red lists, in other cases just part of a cornucopia of colours alongside the energy mechanic. But one way or another, as it turns out, a 4/4 hasting dragon that also gets to kill things while attacking is just good beats, no matter which way you slice it.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we're going to see Glorybringer exerting here on Goblin Chainwhirler, attacking. Goblin Chainwhirler has a free attack, and I believe even Karsev has a free attack, because since Glorybringer is kind of coming for 4 damage for sure, Bernardo is going to be 3, meaning he can't double block the Karsev, because then he takes lethal damage, a total of 8. meaning that the Karsev attack is also free. Goblin Chain will be in 2/2 first strike. Clearly can't be killed off in combat, so this is just a great attack by Strasky. And Benando's going to lose multiple creatures this very turn, or maybe just one creature going down to 1.
Yeah, if you can find a way of stringing it out for one more turn, I'm sure that we'll see him do exactly that. But at this point, the draws that Bernardo Santos needs to make everything happen, getting thinner and thinner here.
Yeah, I think Bernardo, the only way he can draw out of this is drawing a Goblin Chain Whirler, killing off both the Soulscar Mage and the Oncrop Crasher, and then he has exactly enough blockers to survive the Goblin Chain Whirler and the Karisev. But unless he deals with 2 permanents on Andres Strasky's sides or provides 1 blocker and 1 removal, this is all but over. And it is.
Congratulations to Andrei Strasky, sneaking his way into day 2 of this Grand Prix Copenhagen here. Good work from him. He'll be able to rest a little bit more easily overnight as a consequence. And we indeed will be resting overnight soon enough. We are now complete on our day 1, and we do urge you to come back and see a little bit more standard tomorrow. We will have more of the same in some regards, more of the same sorts of decks, but equally more by myself and Yoel, and of course Riley and Simon bringing you all of the plays here over on twitch.tv/magic. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.